College is just up the road here in Germantown, Maryland. And I took over this program in 1998. It started around 1989. And when I took over the program, I immediately sort of set some working goals. And the first two goals, really our main goals, are one, as with everyone else, to prepare students for immediate entry into the biotech workforce. And later on, as I began to survey my students, you'll see in the next slide or so, a significant percentage of our students already have a bachelor's or a master's degree in a life science. So we created a certificate program to meet that need. And the other thing is that in Montgomery County, there's lots of education. And in order to sort of brand the program and get students interested in coming, we consider that they're not going to stop with a 2-year degree, but they're going to continue for a 4-year degree. And probably about 80% of our students do in fact continue on. So who are our students? Most of our students do already have a 4-year degree or a master's degree in a life science. I get people from University of Maryland, Towson State, and so forth. A significant number of our students are already employed in the biotech industry. And if we were to break this down by ethnicity, it's about 30% African American, 30% Hispanic, 30% Caucasian, and then 10% mixed. And the only reason I know this is I just finished the academic area review report. And my associate dean is sitting there because it was fast for me. I got it done 2 weeks late. So we developed a core curriculum to meet the needs of the local biotech industry. And the industry in Montgomery County is very diverse. We have people who do manufacturing. We have people who do vaccine testing, who do toxicology testing for drugs. We've just started putting a number of students at molecular diagnostics companies for proteomics and nucleic acids. So we're trying to develop a curriculum that meets those needs, and these are all the classes in there. The newest class is the manufacturing, which we piloted in the fall, and I'm now fixing in the spring, and we'll rerun it again in the fall. One question was asked earlier about how do you incorporate mechanics and things. One of the units we have in the biomanufacturing, I've called a plumbing day. And basically, I went to Home Depot and bought a bunch of tubing, gauges, wires, pumps, and with colored food-colored water, we just have them hook things up and move liquid from one place to another. Because one of the things I heard from industry is you need to be able to trace flows of materials that goes through the different components of the manufacturing process. And our curriculum is also continuously reviewed and validated by people from the industry. In fact, next week, I'm having lunch with 3 different individuals from the biotech industry. One thing I also do is once students get a job, I tend to email them about 3 months after they're on the work site and ask them what did they wish they had learned in the program, what's anything new that should be incorporated. And then we do that again 6 months or so later. And there's a core group of people that I keep in touch with on a regular basis. Other required courses, because we are thinking about articulation to a 4-year school, they have to take 1 or 2 semesters of general chemistry, a semester minimum of organic chemistry, and then some basic biology courses. So there's a lot in there for these guys to finish by the time they're done. Core values that we teach in every biotech class are, of course, lab techniques and skills, the same things that you've been hearing all day here. I have a heavy focus on documentation. For 3 of the courses, cell culture, proteins, and immunology, all of the labs are written in GLP format as SOPs. And I'm struggling for the manufacturing class to write it as a batch record, but I know that the NBC 2 from BioLink is going to put this out soon, and I'm eagerly awaiting that. We stress communication as well. We do have people go over data. We also have people do presentations on topics. And then we stress behavior, what I like to call the American Express skill set, the ones that the kids won't leave home without. Right? And that includes things like being sure they show up on time, they get their assignments done on time, they treat each other nice, because we have a lot of different cultures, we're very diverse, and sometimes it's a struggle to make sure everybody plays nice. And we do force people to work in teams. So for example, in the proteins lab, the first time we do SDS-PH, each group will get a different percentage of the gel. They'll run the same sample on the gel, and then they'll present the results to the class, and as a class, they'll discuss it and decide what's the optimal percentage to use. So we do things like that through the curriculum. We also invested a lot in equipment, so there's enough for everybody to play with. Every 2 students has a complete set of equipment. So are we successful? Since I've been there, we've placed over 250 students at full-time jobs. Most of our students do continue to complete a 4-year degree, and many of the certificate students enter the master's degree at Johns Hopkins. In fact, I'm on the advisory board for their master's committee, and so we collaborate with them. And in manufacturing, I've advised them in their manufacturing class, and we're thinking about collaborating. They're going to do process development and maybe audit our students as they fill out the batch records. And the other nice thing of success is we work a lot with human genome sciences. That's what I'd like to call one of our anchor companies. And this is a quote from Tom Watkins, the president and CEO of HGS. They did a survey of their entry-level employees, and it turns out that we've provided about 25% of their entry-level employees over the last 6 years. Which is kind of interesting, because when I first took over the program, I went to HGS and tried to get them to hire my students. And they politely told me, it sounds like you have a great program, but we'll never hire anybody with a 2-year degree. And then Hazeltine left and Watkins took over, and the dynamics changed. And so now MedImmune finally is starting to hire us. I'd say one thing that's probably different for me is I don't do internships. I did that initially, but I found it's very difficult to place interns. I'm competing with 40,000 or more kids in Montgomery County Public High Schools. I'm competing with the University of Maryland. And I spent 10 years at NIH, and I realized that internships really took up a lot of my time. They're actually a true cost center at a company. So basically what the companies told me was they'd much rather just hire people. And it also makes it easy when you have a bad student, because you're really only as good as your worst student. So it's kind of nicer if you don't have to put them at work. And some students get A's, but they're all, you know this, they're all thumbs in the lab. And those are the guys you don't want out there making vaccines or testing your drugs. So we just send them to further PhD. Okay? So hopefully I made up a little bit of time here. Here's the contact information. And I'd also like to acknowledge Dr. Laurie Kelman, who joined the program about 3 years after I started and had to put up with a lot because I had rewritten the entire curriculum. We basically don't use any books, so when she stepped in and saw what I wrote, I'm sure she was thinking, what the heck is this? But she's adopted nicely and made lots of great contributions.